How do you build a technical product or a technology product when you don't have a lot of technical skills? This is a question that accidental entrepreneurs ask me all the time, whether it's students who are taking my university classes or those that are in my community. But they may be asking, how can I build something if I don't have the technical background or the technical skills? It often comes up when someone has an idea to build an app or some kind of a software technology or to tailor an AI to do a specific thing. And they may be saying, how do I even do this? I don't have these skills. Is it even possible? And in the past, the answer was you would partner with someone who had those technical skills, and you might provide the vision or the business savvy or the kind of marketing and promotional skills or sales ability to make it go forward. But with AI tools and vibe coding, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Sam Altman was recently quoted as saying that this will be the year of the one person unicorn startup. And what that means is one person creating a startup from scratch and going to the point where the market gives what's called a valuation of that business of $1 billion or more. Any company that gets $1 billion valuation is called a unicorn startup. And that valuation may just be part of a funding round, or it may be part of an initial public offering. But if at some point someone says this company is worth $1 billion, a lot of times that's called a unicorn. And what Sam Altman is saying is that this is going to be the year. AI tools and vibe coding are going to make it possible for one individual to come up with an idea and to bring it to life and to turn it into a highly valuable company without needing to have a technical co-founder or a technical team. Now, that's not to say that technical resources are not necessary when you're building a company. I actually believe coding is going to be more needed in the future because of AI than it has in the past, not less. But it is to say that a business can be launched and can grow and even start to thrive without having a technical person to do all of that work of coding out a software application, coding out some kind of a software product that comes to market. So what I'm talking about here are using AI tools, particularly vibe coding. And vibe coding is just a fancy way of saying writing software applications with AI. And it's getting easier and easier every day. So often when I'm teaching university classes about entrepreneurship, I'm teaching vibe coding and giving exercises in vibe coding using tools that are really well suited for people that have no technical background. Things like Claude Code and Cursor are often used by those that have a coding background but want to move faster. But there are even easier tools like Lovable and Replit that allow you to create apps just from a prompt, that allow you to create products that you can get into the market quickly just by prompting it. What I've actually found is the trick to using a platform like Lovable or Replit is to not start with the platform itself, because when you put in an AI prompt, you're using AI credits right out of the gate for that initial prompt. And you may realize after you've started that you didn't prompt it the right way, or you didn't say what you actually meant, or you left some things out. And so what I like to do is start in an LLM AI, something like ChatGPT or Claude, and start to kind of process my idea, put all the details in that I've been thinking about, the features, addressing, the problem, who's the customer, what research I've done so far, what tests I've done so far, what minimum viable products I've done so far. And so, getting all this information into an LLM and processed into an organized way, it's essentially what you're doing is you're training the AI on what it is that you do. And prompt engineering would really promote doing that in a way where you're giving it a lot more and more detail. You're asking it to ask you more questions. You're looking for any kind of source documents or artifacts that you've created, or databases or repositories of information that you have access to, bringing that into the model. And so over time, you're training this LLM to really understand what it is that you want to build. Next, you can then say to it, I want to build a prompt that's tailor fit for the vibe coding app that I'm going to use. And so this is where a good example, I built an app recently. It was a loyalty app for coffee shops. And I wanted to build it in Lovable, but I started first in ChatGPT, and I gave it lots of input about about the what I knew about the industry, things I've learned from coaching that I've done with those that have started coffee businesses. I've taken, took articles and other just sources about the industry. And then what I did was I sent it out to do deep research. So I unleashed an agent to go and look at all of the restaurant technology apps in the loyalty space to see what they do, what the value prop is, who the customer targets are, what's missing. So I had it go and do all that research and identify, what's already out there, the environment, what are some of the trends, and maybe what are some of the gaps. The next thing I did was I actually have the deep research on the LLM really dig into the vibe coding platform I'm going to use. So in this case, I was using Lovable, and I put all that information in. I did all that training. I did all that deep research. I said, okay, now I'm ready to vibe code with Lovable. Now go do deep research on Lovable and, what are the best practices or what are the top experts doing to prompt Lovable in a way that gets the apps they want? And then create a prompt for me that's carefully crafted and engineered for Lovable based on the details of the app that I want to create, my customers, and so forth. And so I got a very robust prompt. It was a couple of pages long. And I pasted that into Lovable. And what Lovable did was it started to process that. And because there was so much there, it realized that there were options. And instead of just presenting one app option for me, it created two totally different apps. They had some similar characteristics or features, but they were very different in their navigation and their look and feel and their focus. And it said to me, which of these two would you choose? And it was that it won't use any credits for using the other one. So you essentially got to give it additional input about what app you wanted to use. And the app that it created was absolutely beautiful. It was exactly what I had in mind. In fact, when I looked at the two, it really enhanced my thinking about what could be. And so I took some of the things I liked about the one I didn't choose and later added it in. And so I was able to vibe code this app in, really I spent maybe 10 or 15 minutes building the prompt and doing the training in the LLM. And then once it went in, it was a matter of just pasting it in and turning it loose. It took maybe 5 or 10 minutes to create first it came up with the choice. And then once I made the selection, maybe 5 or 10 minutes to build the app. And then it was literally something where I could continue to change and modify it, or I could publish it right then and there. So you can see vibe coding tools make it really accessible for someone who doesn't have a coding background to be able to create a technical product. One thing was interesting. I just recently interviewed Sean Ebling, who's the Do It guru, Do IT, and Do It guru, who does a lot with coding and with building apps and those kinds of things. And one of the things that we talked about was how vibe coding can actually help even when you're working with a technical coding development team, an engineering team, to build a commercial grade app. You can use vibe coded apps to use as like a technical specification. So you can take that vibe coded app that looks and feels and works the way you want it to, but maybe doesn't have all the back end features that it needs. And you can show that to the developers, and they can then use it to write out the product specifications and really help to avoid some of the pitfalls that can come with coding and spending a lot of time and money writing code and realizing later that the specs weren't quite right. So that's just a way that you can even go further if you're growing a startup after you've created that first version of your app, that minimum viable product with a vibe coding tool like Lovable or Replit. And then you can move to the next level using that vibe coded minimum viable product, that MVP, to work with the development team to build out the specifications. And what you want to layer on top of this is the customer development process all the way along the way. You want to get this product, this idea in front of customers, get their feedback before you commit down a path. And this is one of the things I think vibe coding tools is going to be so useful for is you can create a version of it, show it to customers, get feedback, adjust it, create a new version of it, show it to them again. And they can really shorten that build, measure, learn loop where you're getting that immediate input from customers once you have created something, getting the taking that data and analyzing it and finding out what you've learned from it, and then moving it forward with a new version that you can build on in an iterative fashion.